Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, Nick Cage's acting teacher and spiritual guru, my brother Mike.
That's me, yeah. The Cage. We got an Oscar. We got just the love of adoring fans. I told him, I said, hey, Nick, I call him Nicky Coppola, as we all know.
Okay, right.
I said, hey, Nick, Ghost Rider 2 is a career-defining role. Okay, you've got to take this thing. All right.
And what's going to be important is that you take it as big as, but you want to be as big as possible on screen at all times.
You got to jump off the screen on this thing.
They say that film is a subtle medium, but they're idiots. Okay, you want to play it as big as if you were in a theater,
Okay.
like just
this
doing,
is Con Air mixed with National Treasure 2. Okay,
I watched Con Air again a while back. Boy, it is bad. Boy,
that thing holds up. I tell you what.
Oh yeah, it holds something up. Yeah.
How did Malkovich agree to that movie? That is so not a John Malkovich movie. Okay.
Money, 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 money. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to start a film podcast before too long because we have too much.
I have a friend who already has one, by the way.
Oh, be a guest on it. That sounds like fun. Anyway, this is a baseball podcast. We talk about the Kansas City Royals on this podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss a pretty disappointing week from the Kansas City Royals, one that may have ultimately cost them a playoff spot. We'll see. Who knows? We don't know yet. And then we're going to dig a little bit into future scenarios that may or may not help their chances of making the playoffs this year or help them in the future beyond this year. And then, of course, we'll always preview this week's slate of games where the Royals will hope to really make up some ground in that playoff chase. As always, make sure to subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack. We're putting out tons of excellent content. Mike did a Mike's Drop episode this week that was good. We did a midweek episode earlier this week. I put out a post today talking about Seth Lugo and some of the struggles he's had and what they're going to do with Jack Caglione and all that sort of stuff. $5 a month gets you a ton of extra content. If you're always like, hey, I need another Royals podcast to listen to, we have more episodes for you to listen to on our Substack. So royalsweekly.substack.com. I promise you it. I can't make that kind of promise, but most people don't seem to be disappointed by the experience. We're having a lot of fun with interacting with subscribers over there on that. Also, make sure to rate and review us. Spotify, Apple Podcast. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Give us 5 stars everywhere you can. We really appreciate it when you leave those sorts of things, which is why we read them here on the air, those reviews. And so please go out there and do that and help us out just as much as you can. We'll start the review of last week with roster news. There's not really any to talk about, but I do want to get a little conversation in about Jack Caglione, as it was announced or reported earlier this week that Jack Caglione is set to go out on a rehab assignment later this week. So it'll be the week of August 10th coming up as you're listening to this. Mike, how do you think the Royals should handle this Caglione situation, given that they've traded for 2 outfielders? Caglione was not hitting very well in major leagues, and now they have about 20 days worth of rehab that they could utilize, but may not utilize. What do you think they should do?
He should only be back in Major League Baseball if there is a significant change in how he takes at bats, a noticeable and significant change. Now, if he takes all 20 games, that will over double. That will be more than what he ever actually had in AAA. And so, I think those are extremely important for him. He needs to see that level of pitching. He needs to take some time to do the things that will make him successful in Major League Baseball. And you and I have talked about this many times. The things that will make you successful in the minors aren't the things that will make you successful in Major League Baseball all the time. And so a success for him isn't hitting 5 home runs in the 20 rehab starts that he gets. It's, am I swinging at pitches that are the optimum spot for me to do damage on in Major League Baseball? If I'm swinging at him on the edge and having success, that is not success. It is not going to work in Major League Baseball to do that, because he's not going to be able to be that aggressive and still have success in Major League Baseball. We've seen that. That is now the bulk of the evidence we have from him in Major League Baseball is a lack of success doing with that style of approach.
I can actually give you some numbers to back this up because I wrote about this a little bit in today's Substack. He's had 161 plate appearances in Major League Baseball. Of those, he has seen 132 pitches in the heart of the plate and swung at 99 of those 132. Now, that's a good thing just in itself generally. His numbers in the heart of the plate aren't good, but that's mostly a luck thing. His expected numbers in the heart of the plate are actually very good. And so He hasn't done great in the heart of the plate, but he's done what he should be doing in terms of putting the ball in play hard. The problem is he has seen 441 pitches in the shadow, in the chase, and in the waist regions of the strike zone as defined by StatCast, and he has swung at 204 of those. 204 of those 441 pitches in the shadow, the chase, or the waist regions he has swung at. That's very bad, right? Like, that's really bad. Shadow pitches you swing at maybe if you have 2 strikes on you, but other than that, you don't want to be swinging at those. He swung at 204 of those pitches, and of course his numbers in those areas are atrocious, right? And the theory of the case, you'll remember when they brought him up, was, well, it doesn't matter if he has a good approach because he can hit the ball hard even if it is in the shadow of the plate or outside the strike zone or whatever. He hits the ball hard no matter what, so it doesn't matter. I think the Royals hoped that was the case. But he came to Major League Baseball, and that wasn't the case. It did matter, right? That he was swinging at pitches he shouldn't be swinging at, which is why he has a 50% ground ball rate, right? Like, he has a 50% ground ball rate, not because he's just like naturally designed to hit ground balls. It's because he swings at pitches they're going to become ground balls, right? Like, that's why he hits too many ground balls, right? Now, yes, his expected numbers overall look like he would be a productive major league hitter. He's got like a 262 expected batting average, a 460 something expected slugging. Yes, that would be a good major league hitter. For him, it would just be slightly above average because his walk rate is so low. But if you want him to ultimately be the best he can be, which they need him to be, they really don't want him to just be like an above average hitter and then he plays first base. You don't want that, right? Like, but if you want him to be as good as he possibly could be, you got to let him do what he needs to do down in minor league baseball. You got to let him find that good approach, because we're talking about the difference between a Vinny Pasquantino type production and what Nick Kurtz has been doing with the A's type production. That's what we're talking about in terms of the difference of production.
I don't even know if he gets to
really
Vinny.
want it to become that.
Not what Vinny has been, recently. I think you're looking at a guy like, I'm kind of thinking of a guy we saw in this series, Trevor Larnach, who you're like, hey, they kind of expected him to be a middle of the order guy, and he's just kind of an above average corner outfielder kind of guy.
Yeah, and I mean that's what Vinny is. Vinny's a 105 weighted runs created plus coming into today. That's what you're talking. You're talking 105 to 115 for Jack Caglione if he doesn't improve that approach. If he does, you're talking 160, 170, and that's really where they want to see him. Another bit of news that we won't talk about, but that has happened in the last week. Michael Lorenzen went out on a rehab assignment, Northwest Arkansas. Mike's scratching his own back for the audio listeners, which is why you hear that
smacking
his own microphone move there. Michael Lorenzen went out for a rehab start with Northwest Arkansas. He got roughed up big time in his first outing. He had another outing again tonight, I think, and pitched better than that. So we may see Michael Lorenzen back in Kansas City here soon. On the field, the Royals' hopes of a playoff push took a little tumble this week with series losses to the red-hot Boston Red Sox and the completely rebuilding Minnesota Twins. That Twins series was particularly stinging as the Royals dropped the rubber match today in extra innings after going 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, including 2 extra innings in which the runner was automatically placed in scoring position for them, and they could not bring either of those guys home. Mike, what the hell was that?
It was a collective messing of our pantaloons, is the polite, courteous way to put it. It was terrible. Like, I went in the Mike's Dropped episode for the Substack listeners. I went through like a very detailed breakdown of the changes that had happened to the Twins team. There's not much out there, guys. You're getting beat by Ryan Jeffers, Cody Clemens, and a guy that's got like 20 games in Luke Keeschel. That's it. And the ghost of Royce Lewis, like what's happening? Like, you cannot drop a game like that. And people were like, oh, well, they gave up stuff. I don't even think people understand the extent to which they traded guys away in that bullpen. The whole bullpen.
They had to pitch a bullpen game today.
And they had to pitch a bullpen game. And we lost. We lost a bullpen game.
We lost a bullpen game full of AAA relievers.
Who just let go of every guy they had in the bullpen but 2. Sands and Topa, however you say his last name. Those were the 2 guys left that had 20 innings or more in that bullpen. That was it. And we couldn't beat that team. Twice.
Twice in 3 games, we couldn't beat that team.
Yikes! So that is insane.
Yeah, I understand the notion of like, for the most part, hitting with runners in scoring position is random. But some of those plate appearances with runners in scoring position today were just absolutely rough, atrocious, especially in
Early
extra
in the
innings.
game,
That's the
yeah.
thing that really got me. Early in
And
the game was
extras,
bad.
yeah.
First 2 innings. So here's what happened. Yesterday the Royals won, but Bailey Ober pitched. He was bad, and the Royals offense still couldn't do anything against him. Like, for some reason, he was bad and they were just worse, right? Like, which was tough to see, but the Royals ended up winning, so everybody kind of forgot about it. Today, what's the name of the guy they pitched?
Urias.
I forgot his name.
Or
but
no,
he was absolutely
Areno.
Areno. Okay. He was absolutely atrocious in the first 2 innings.
He's not even a good reliever.
He walked like four guys. He just was walking everybody. Like, he is terrible, right? Like, he was terrible today. And the Royals had base runners on against him the whole time. They only ended up getting 1 run, right? Like, just 1, right? Like, and that was just the start of a day filled with getting runners on and scoring 0 of them, right? Like, guys coming up in big spots and doing just terrible things, right? Like, and so it was rough to see. And then that extra innings where Jonathan India swings at the first pitch, hits a weak grounder to the left side, doesn't get the runner from second to third at all. All the Royals had to do was score that runner in the 10th and they win the game. They didn't do it, right? Like, they couldn't get the runner over from second to third, never even made it to third base. Like, they couldn't get the runner over. That was that, right? Like, just absolutely terrible.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. Maikel Garcia takes a pretty
Gets
crappy
picked off at second.
Gets picked off at second, takes a pitch right down the heart of the plate with a guy on base I think that was early in the game. Just brutal.
It was a brutal game to watch today, and a series that they really couldn't afford to lose, that they end up losing. And it's the story of the 2025 Royals at this point, really. Mike, we do have to talk about strong performers because we do that every week, and I guess there were some of those. And so, who was your strong performer for this week?
I'm going with Mike Yastrzemski, Yaz, as they move him into the leadoff spot on occasion. He was 5 for 20 this week with 3 doubles, 1 home run, 4 runs scored. Was on base quite a bit, 1 RBI, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. It feels like he's giving a competent at bat, at least to that leadoff spot, a little bit more consistency to the leadoff spot that honestly I think they were kind of looking for from Jonathan India, and they just have not gotten consistently enough with him. So way to go, Yaz. Serviceable guy. Not the guy, you don't have to bring in a guy like him to be your one hitter in the middle of the year, but here's where we are. And he did have a pretty good week. So we'll give it up for Yaz.
Yeah, he's for the most part had really good plate appearances. It took a great walk to start the game today in that first inning, really patient walk. But his extra inning at bats, like later in the game, he was one of those ones who looked like he started pressing when guys got on base, and he stopped doing the things that were really making him effective, because this team has an issue with like collectively squeezing way too hard, if that makes sense. Like they're grinding their bats to dust up there trying to be heroes, and it doesn't work out. Mike, we mentioned a guy who made a couple mistakes in today's game in Maikel Garcia, but he was just hotter than a barrel of fire the last week. He was 10 for 24 with 2 doubles, 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, really carrying a lot of their offense. Yesterday, they had 1 run for most of the game, and that 1 run was hit in by him, an RBI double into the right center field gap that scored, I think, Isbell, because Garcia was leading off yesterday. Yeah, that was the only run it looked like they were going to get all day yesterday until about the 8th inning. I think they found a way to scratch across 1 more. Garcia looks one of the lone bright spots. I mean, we talked early in the year, like the Royals need several things to go their way, as we say every year. Most of those things have not gone their way this year. The only thing that did was Maikel Garcia sort of breaking out, and getting to see him consistently provide offense for the Royals makes you think that beyond Bobby Witt Jr., they have one other hitter at the very least who is going to be a consistent part of this lineup moving forward, right? Maybe you could say Vinny Pasquantino. He's sort of right there on the cusp of offensively effective enough, but Garcia looks like he's found the formula, it looks like, for being consistently productive offensively. Mike, it was a 2-4 week. They probably had some weak performers. Who'd you go with?
I went with Salvador Perez, a guy that we're going to need in the middle of the lineup to produce and produce and produce. We need a hot streak Salvador Perez to make this playoff run. I mean, honestly, I don't think we make it to the playoffs if he's not just firecracker hot. And he was 2 for 25 this week. 1 double, no runs batted in, 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. That's not going to cut it if this team's going to produce the amount of runs that they're going to need to really make a push at this.
Yeah, I think he came up with the bases loaded in extras today. 2 outs, bases loaded, and I believe he struck out or maybe hit a weak pop up or something like that. Yeah. Just didn't come through. And we talked, we worried about this notion that like, okay, they trade Freddie Fermin away. What's it going to look like when Salvador Perez is catching a lot more? We know that he's done better when he gets more days off, when he DHs more and that sort of thing, because catching takes such a toll on his body that he gets less offensively productive. And I think you're seeing that right now. I think you're seeing the result of him playing so much. And it's not great. Another guy who's playing probably too much, and that is to say at all, Jonathan India was my week performer for the week. He went 4 for 25, 1 home run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He was 0 for 5 today. A lot of discontent coming from the Royals fan base about Jonathan India this week. Mike, you'll remember who was a big advocate for trading Jonathan India at the deadline.
I wouldn't say big, but yeah, you mentioned it.
I know. I was multiple times on this podcast. I was like, "You're gonna want to trade Jonathan India."
What are you gonna get for Jonathan India? He was hitting 210.
I know. Well, that's the thing. You weren't gonna get much, but guess what you're gonna get for him this offseason? Absolutely nothing. Right? Like, in fact, there was a report, or I heard from somebody, or I'll say his name because he made it public. David Lesky said on somewhere, I want to say on his podcast with what's
Seren?
that podcast called?
Not
yeah,
Seren.
but I can't remember the name of the podcast.
Okay.
I can't remember. Kaufman Corner.
Kaufman Corner, yeah.
That he had heard reports that the Mariners were interested in India before the All-Star break. Right? Like, and so my thing was move India mostly because you could replace his production pretty easily. Like
with who? You're not replacing it with better production. I mean,
well, no, but you can replace it with the same production. And if you get the same production, you also get a prospect back for India. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, but let's
trade India.
You can trade India. You can bring up who? I don't know.
At that point, you didn't have to bring anybody up. At that point, Lofton can play second base for
Lofton, who actually isn't even producing as well as India. But
well, actually,
Jonathan India has
at this point.
Jonathan India has, at least in the past, a track record of performing better than that. Nick Lofton at the major league level has no track record of performing at all, anything. Nobody the Royals have to play second base or DH or wherever the hell you want to call Jonathan India has a track record of performing. Now, I understand Jonathan India has been garbage. He hadn't been as good as people wanted, but trading him wasn't going to be like probably a value positive move necessarily. You're just getting rid of a guy because he hasn't performed up to the standard that he had before you got him. That's really
but here's the thing. Yeah, you're doing that, and you're hopefully getting, at the very least, some value.
A lottery ticket in low A?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People are like, oh, don't do that. We signed him to be the leadoff hitter. We need him to be you've already replaced him as the leadoff hitter. That's already happened, right? Like, they went out and traded for Mike Yastrzemski. They've done that portion. And you're also saving the money that you're paying Jonathan India, which is not an insignificant amount of money right now. He makes $7 million this year. He's going to make $10 million next year. And so, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it made sense because for some reason people were talking about India like he actually was what they traded for him to be, which he has not been and looks like he will continue to not be, right? Like, and so you're not losing anything by trading him is what I'm saying. You're not losing anything and you're gaining small things. That's fine, right? Like, who wouldn't take that deal right now? Like, if I say, hey, do you want to keep playing Jonathan India for the rest of 2025? Or I can give you a lottery ticket prospect and $4 million. Will you take him? Or will you take that? Right? Like, I think that's an absolute yes. Because what has he done? Nothing.
Maybe, but then you're looking to fill a roster spot for him for next year. Okay, with nothing internally.
Which you're already looking to do. You need a roster spot, actually.
It would surprise me if they are. Because, now don't get me wrong, I think, yeah, maybe it's Carter Jensen that comes up, but that's not now. You don't want to do that now to fill.
No, you don't want to do that now. But now you don't.
He's not going to play second. He's not going to.
Neither is Jonathan India.
Where's
I DHing half the time.
why you don't trade a Jonathan India there.
I don't.
And there's nothing to say that you can't do something this offseason. He's not an old player. Nothing
There
that says you
is.
can't do something this offseason to where he doesn't get back to where he was. That isn't great, but it's some sort of value, right? Does he have a longer
No.
track record of being the Jonathan India this year or the one that we traded for?
Well, no, but the one that we traded for was always looking. They traded him because they thought this was going to happen, and it happened, right? Like he was always living on a razor's edge offensively because he doesn't hit the ball that hard, right? And now all the things that were good about his offensive game have gone away. And so, what are we talking about? I don't know. There is no guarantee that they would come back. That lottery ticket and that $4 million, those are real. Those are real things.
Here's the real question. The real question would be, could you take that $4 million and buy somebody who is the equivalent or going to be better than Jonathan India next year?
Well, it's not even that. Like, could you use it to buy it, right? Like, because, it would probably cost a little bit more than that, but, take that $4 million, take the however much you're saving from Salvi's, he's not going to make as much next year and so on and so forth, and then cobble it together for offensive help in the offseason maybe.
And pray, because you're competing against every other team to get that player.
Yeah. Mike, rough week last week. The fan base is very dejected, very unhappy. What do you got for a theme for us?
Well, this one will cheer you up because this is from a classic John Hughes movie, and those movies are always awesome. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And that's what feels like is happening to these playoffs. We're just missing it. It's just passing us right by, and we're not even stopping our feet to look up for 1 second. I don't even know what is Cleveland ahead of us now. They're like 3.5, 4 or 5 games ahead of us.
They're 3.5 ahead of us. They're only a half game out of the wild card spot.
It's not looking good when they're actually playing pretty well. You're losing games. You're losing series to the Twins, and it's we better stop and look up and realize what's happening, or it's going to slip away real quick.
Yeah, I tried to, for my theme this week, I tried to just sort of grasp the tone of the fan base that I'm feeling coming back at me on social media. So I'm interacting with people on social media today during the game, and things got super dark, super quick, right? And so I tried to just capture that with one of the saddest lines I've ever heard in a song. And it was from a song by Joe Pug called Nation of Heat. And the line is, we measure loneliness in miles and misery in tons, right? And so that's where the fan base is roughly at right now. If I had to just put a little guess to it, I'd say it's about 3 tons of misery at this point.
I'm actually going to change mine, and I'm going to go with the saddest line of a song that I know.
Okay. Mike's going with 2 themes this week. Look at that.
It's from Death Cab for Cutie. It's called a song. It's a song called, I think it's called Sarah's Song. Love is watching someone die. That's what this feels like. I love the Royals, watching them die right in front of us.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxford of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy we do, retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxford of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
I'm talking pina coladas poolside in a tasteful mesh tank top cut off just above my belly button. Okay.
Which is still a lot of stomach to go from there. Okay, still a lot of stomach. Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxford of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
You want to be close to the good Costco. Okay, not the small Costco, the good one that does auto stuff and dental care. Okay, get your tires rotated and your crown replaced. All right there, Costco, number 1.
Find Eric Oxford of West USA Realty online at ericoxford.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. Even if you're at all curious what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. The Royals have a difficult challenge ahead, trailing by 4 games in the wild card, missing 2 of their top starters, and remaining fairly inconsistent offensively. Fangraphs places their chances of making the playoffs at 6.2% after today's loss. That's not a large percentage. I don't know if you guys are math majors out there, but 6.2, pretty small.
Any statisticians want to chime in on 6.2?
Feel free. Leave a comment. That's real small below this. But if a few things go their way, they might have a better chance. Conversely, if a few things don't go their way, they have no chance at all. For this week's Spotlight segment, we're going to look into some scenarios that could aid or hinder the Royals' chances of making the playoffs in a game we're revisiting called In a World, right? This is the first game we're ever revisiting here on Royals Weekly. We usually just make up a game for the Spotlight segment or a format or whatever, and then we ignore it. But we're coming back to this one. I'll give Mike a scenario, and he'll tell me what will result from that scenario. Easy enough. Pretty simple. I'll also chime in with what I think will result. Mike, I'm going to do the In a World voice, though, because I love it.
I was hoping that would happen.
There's a great movie about this voice and things like that. But in a world where Seth Lugo continues to pitch like he has lately,
start hoarding toilet paper and make peace with your God. Okay. No playoffs this year if that happens. And then you're going to start to hear whispers about a contract extension for a 35-year-old pitcher that may have been a giganto waste of money. Let me give you some numbers here. In the last month, Seth Lugo has pitched 26 and a third innings. He has a 6.49 ERA. He's given up 32 hits in those 26 innings. I think his whip is like 1.6 something. He's just been bad. He's been Seth Lugo bad. Like, he's not getting the swing and miss. He's not getting the strikeouts that he usually does. And that's leading. He's giving up home runs like he is prone to do at times. We need the better Seth Lugo, especially in 2026. If he has a rough end to the year here, hey, it wasn't likely we were to make the playoffs anyway. Even if with good Seth Lugo, I don't know if we make the playoffs, but he's got to get right for 2026, because that's, 2026 and 2027 are really what that contract and this front office is setting up for. Like, that's what we're playing for at this point. Got to get better with Seth Lugo moving into next year.
Yeah, I did a section on this for the Substack today. I put a picture of like his heat map in those. So I think that represents 5 or 6 starts, and the big bright red area was right in the middle of the damn strike zone. And so that just shows you why he's given up those 32 hits. He's living too much in the heart of the plate. He is getting hit a lot as a result of it. His command has essentially abandoned him over the last month. And so he needs to get that back to sharp. I agree with you. If in a world where Seth Lugo continues to pitch like he has lately, that's all she wrote for this year. And, you're right. We do have to talk about the contract in that situation, because $46 million is then, you start to wonder where that could have gone instead, especially the addition of Ryan Bergert and how well he has pitched over the 2 starts he's had draws a question that's like, well, did they really need Seth Lugo? Like, did they have to give? That's what people will start to ask. Like, did they have to give him $20 to $23 million a year to just not make the playoffs this year? And then maybe we have a rotation of Ragans and Bubic and Bergert and Cameron and Waka and a bunch of other guys who might be in there. It starts to look superfluous to some degree, or fans start to ask questions like, could we have spent that 20 million AAV somewhere else? That 23 million AAV actually somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think that's more of the question. I don't think you're going to get no value out of him. You just may end up with a pitcher that is more of a 4 and 5 starter that you're paying $23 million for. And that becomes like, not great, but you're not paying Bergert much. You're not paying
Cameron. You're not paying Cameron or Bergert anything really.
You do have, and Waka's number is already locked in. So I don't know that I'm necessarily mad about the deal, but his value won't be what it was even maybe the first part of this year. There's a possibility. There's a solid possibility of that because 35-year-old pitchers don't usually get better as they go along.
No. Mike, in a world where Jack Caglione comes back and is raking,
the Royals have an anchor for their lineup in right field for years to come. And yes, I said right field. I think he can be a competent right fielder, and I'm playing him in right if he can play it. Because for one, we don't have as much opportunity there, and two, you can always move him to first if you have to. So I'm sticking him in right field, and if he's raking, you have an anchor for years to come. But I don't think that's the difference in making the playoffs or not. I think it would be a huge boost. I think it would be an absolute savior for this down the road, especially with, age decline is coming for Salvi. It's probably already started. Bobby Witt Jr. is there. Vinny Pasquantino, if he can avoid the early season awfuls that he's shown his whole career so far, you've got some productive people in the middle there. Jack Caglione would anchor in as your 4-hitter with Carter Jensen coming up to lengthen that lineup as well. So you're talking 2, Bobby, 3, Vinny, 4,
you're going to go lefty, lefty, lefty in a lineup?
Or no, I guess he could get. Well, Bobby's not a lefty. Bobby's a righty. It would be righty.
I know,
lefty,
but you said Vinny, Jack, Carter Jensen. They're all lefty.
No, I said Bobby, Vinny, Jack.
Oh.
Then I would go Salvi, then Carter Jensen.
Oh, you're talking next year?
Yeah.
Where's Maikel Garcia?
Well, maybe next year, the year after that. He'd probably leading off, honestly. So.
All right. Yeah, I think that solves a lot of the offensive issues moving forward. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But probably still isn't enough to secure a playoff spot this year, right? Like one hitter getting hot is not really enough to. What they need at this point is kind of a pretty significant winning streak, and one hitter getting hot isn't enough for that, right? Like, and so it'd be great. It'd be great. It would make the fan base feel.
If that were the case, Kyle Isbell would be leading them to wins right now.
Yes, Kyle Isbell. They would have been winning this whole time because Kyle Isbell's been hot for 2 weeks. But no, it's not enough. And so I think it would make the fan base feel a lot better about sort of this season overall, but also just like moving forward. If he comes back and is here for like a month, and in that month looks basically like the way Nick Kurtz has looked for the last month, right? Like then I think everybody will start to feel quite a bit better, even if it means ultimately they miss the playoffs. Mike, in a world where Bobby, Vinny, Salvi turn it on for the last month and a half,
the Royals have a chance to make the playoffs. This is the defining factor to me. It would take all 3 of them really turning on the bats to give them any sort of chance to make the playoffs, because this lineup goes as those 3 go. And you have seen some pieces, look good. Maikel Garcia has looked good. We just mentioned Kyle Isbell has provided a little bit of an offensive spark at the bottom. John Rave this week was even a little bit better. Yaz has shown up in spots. I think if those 3, though, really turn it on, that's the only engine that drives this team to the playoffs.
Yeah, and when it increases their chance, I'm talking from like 6.2% now to maybe 30%. Right? It gives them like a 30% chance to make the playoffs because other things still have to go right. They still have to pitch well. They still have to do some smaller things well that they've been doing.
They got to quit with the mistakes. Like I think they had one in the 8th today. They were up a run. They give up a run in the 8th on a, because of a botched play. I mean,
botched play in the outfield from John Rave, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and they have to kind of play flawless just to get their chances from like 5% to 30%. And Bobby, Vinny, and Salvi have to get super hot, right? Is it possible? Hey, this is baseball we're talking about here. Anything is possible. Is it likely? I doubt it because we just talked about Salvi as a weak performer last week, and Bobby's dealing with a back thing. That came out today, and so
Vinny didn't have was it this week or last week? Vinny didn't have a great week. That reminds me of that classic Parks and Rec line in like the very first season, like the second episode or something. Now, is it likely? No. But is it possible? No. It's not possible.
It is possible. It's just unlikely. It's just very unlikely. Mike, last one. In a world where Cole Reagans comes back and is 90% of what he was last year,
you might still think about shutting him down, because him alone being 90% of what he was last year also doesn't carry you to the playoffs, especially if Seth Lugo continues to pitch the way that he has, and you don't know what you're getting out of lefty. Just got him from the Pirates.
Falter,
thank you. He's pitching tomorrow, I think. You just don't know what you're getting, out of those guys. And so I don't even think Cole Reagans.
Now, likely Reagans might replace Falter, right?
Could,
Lorenzen might replace Falter.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what you're doing there, but I don't know that 90% of Cy Young candidate Cole Reagans, it's not going to carry you. It doesn't take you from 5% to 30%. It takes you from 6.2% to 9.5%. I mean, it doesn't move the needle as much as a group of guys getting hot at one time. So you got to take a real hard look, because he's not coming back to mid to late August. I guess we're getting close to that.
Late August now. He's not even out for a rehab start. He's going out for.
Okay, so late August. If you get to late August and you're not above a 10% chance, I think you look real hard at just shutting it down for the year.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think you said it all there. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All In Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they now offer strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
I'm pretty sure they do strength and conditioning for middle-aged dads too. So there's hope for me.
Yeah. And of course, All In Physical Therapy still offers the best in recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries, with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of your recently replaced hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, you name it.
Is it weird that I'm jealous of people with replaced joints?
It's I am too.
It's like when you're 16 and your friend gets a new car, but it's much sadder than that.
It's the old person version of that. Yeah. If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from an injury, check out All In Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. The Royals are finally back home for a stretch, starting this week with a series against the Washington Nationals and then a series against the Chicago White Sox. Actually, first it'll be Washington Nationals, then a day off, then the Chicago White Sox. All here at home. Get out to the K, you can see them. Mike, tell us a little bit about, these are two bad teams, but give us the details about the first bad team, the Washington Nationals.
Oh boy, the Washington Nationals are a real dumpster fire of a team. We're going to start that game with that Monday game, yeah. With
how bad are they, Mike? What's their record?
Oh, sorry, they're 47-70, which is last in the NL East. They're bad. I told you. We all know they're bad, right? There's a triumvirate of bad teams, right?
I feel like half of our audiences are people
Nationals,
who like
White Sox. You might throw the Pirates in there. They're not very.
I feel like half our audiences are people who don't want to watch the games every day, and so they just kind of tune into us, and then we tell them sort of about baseball. They just dip in and out real quick, All
right, well, dip into this. We should beat the Washington Nationals. If we don't win this series, if we lose back-to-back series to the Twins and the Nationals, you can
stick a fork in them. They're done.
Yeah, just start watching the European Football League or whatever. So it's going to be Bailey Falter versus Cade Cavalli in that first game. 26-year-old righty out of Oklahoma, Cade Cavalli is. He's only made one start. He went 4 1/3 innings and gave up no earned runs. He's got a 4-seam fastball at 97 or 98, a curveball, a sinker, a changeup, and a cutter. He gets a lot of swing and miss. In his first outing, he mixed his pitches heavily, nothing over 31%. So sounds like he's got a promising arm, but he doesn't have any starting experience in Major League Baseball. So we'll see. I expect to be shut out in 0-7, probably.
Yeah.
Michael Waka will go in that second game versus Mitchell Parker, a 25-year-old righty out of San Jacinto College.
Lefty
out of Am I saying that right? San Jacinto?
I have no
San
clue.
Jacinto College North. He's got a 5.43 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP. Those are both bad. He's got a four-seam fastball that's 92 to 93, a curveball, a splitter, and a slider. Not really a major league caliber pitcher, according to Mark. He gives
I
up.
just tell it like I see it, folks.
His parents probably disagree.
I'm sure
he
they
gives
do.
up. Sorry if you're listening, Mr. and Mrs. Parker. He gives up tons of hard contact. He doesn't strike anybody out. His expected ERA is actually slightly higher than the 5.43, and he's somehow worse than his atrocious ERA. So, Mitchell Parker, we should be able to knock him around, so I expect to be shut out through 5 in that one. Last game will be an interesting one because we need Seth Lugo to be back where he is. It's going to be Seth Lugo versus Jake Irvin, 28-year-old righty out of Oklahoma, 4.90 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP. He's got a four-seam fastball at 92 to 93, a curveball, a sinker, a changeup, a slider, and a cutter. He's also not really a major league caliber pitcher, according to Mark. Mark hates everybody. He gives up a ton of hard contact.
Facts, my friends.
He gives up a ton of hard contact. He doesn't strike out anybody. He's got a 5.31 expected ERA. So 2 really bad pitchers and a guy who's got one start in Major League
making
Baseball.
His second Major League start.
Yeah. Over under on the number of runs we score in this series.
7.
Oh, come on, offense. Come on.
After that, the Royals will stay at home they'll get an off day. They probably need it. And then they'll stay at home for a series against the Chicago White Sox, who are who's not as bad as they used to be. We'll just call them that, right? They're bad, but they're not as bad as they used to be. The Chicago White Sox are 43 at 75. That's good for last in the AL Central. Offensively, they're basically the Kansas City Royals. They have an 86 weighted runs created plus, which is tied for 27th with the Kansas City Royals. They are getting a good year out of Mike Tuchman, who I desperately wanted the Royals to sign in the offseason. But he's been great for them. They have a rookie named Colson Montgomery who's got a 120 rated runs created plus. He's been really good for them. Another rookie, Kyle Teal, catching prospect. You'll remember the Royals had the opportunity to take, but instead took Gavin Cross. I think was that the Gavin Cross year or was that the Blake Mitchell year?
I thought that was the year after that.
Sorry, you're right. That's the Blake Mitchell year. But they had a chance to take Kyle Teal, but he is now a Major League Baseball player with the White Sox. He has a 105 weighted runs created plus, so he's doing pretty good as a hitter, also a catcher. So he's doing all right. On the pitching side is where they differ greatly from the Royals, and that's mostly in the starting rotation. They have a 4.17 ERA as a team, which is 19th in Major League Baseball. They aren't getting particularly good years from any of the starters who remain on their team. They were getting a decent year from Adrian Hauser, but they traded him to the Rays.
Did Shane Smith turn into a pumpkin?
He's not a pumpkin. He's just like he's looking like a 4 or 5 starter. He's got like a ERA at 4.1 something. So not lighting the world on fire. I think Jonathan Cannon is also in a similar boat. But those are their like best 2 starters left. And so really it's the bullpen who is helping, who is the better side of this pitching staff. They have several guys, including my boy Mike Vassell, with ERAs either under 2 or just over 2. Their starting rotation, though, it leaves quite a bit to be desired. And so hopefully they can do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Mike, I did want to ask you a question. How many wins do you think the Royals need to get from this week, given where they're at playoffs wise?
They need to get 5. They need 5 out of 6 because you're playing 2 bad teams and you have a lot of ground to make up in this playoff hunt. And the schedule, this is you and I talked about this as kind of the soft spot of the schedule in August that they really need to make some hay with. Add on the fact that you just had the week that you had, you desperately need 5 wins this week.
Yeah, I would say at least 5. And I saw our friend Joel Penfield, who hosts Run Royal Way, who's like, they got to sweep both of them this week because, it gets a little harder after that. They got to play the Rangers for 4 games. It's at home, but the Rangers are good, and so, yeah, at least 5. You go 5-1, you feel a little bit better about where they're at. If they got 6, then you'd feel a lot better about where they're at. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just A Bit Outside segment, where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike, you're going through it illness-wise. You're recovering. You're on the road to peak health. You have a spicy new haircut. Tell us what your week was like last week.
A spicy new haircut?
Yeah,
You
for
know,
those of you watching on YouTube, you can see it, but this is practically a come hither haircut from Mike over here.
the lady asked me, I go to the same great clips every time, and I always have a different person cutting my hair. She said, "Do you want me to give you a fade over here?" I'm like, lady, I don't even know what that is. Okay.
I don't know what
Just
that is.
do it the same way every person has done it for the last 10 years. Thank you. And so, yeah, that's the haircut I have. I'm going to go with, so I'm also getting ready to start back to work. I'm a school teacher. And so I'm getting ready to start that up. I just wanted to give 3 little tips to moms and dads to start the school year, okay, to help out your child and get them going in the right path. Number 1, tip for your children starting school: look at and fulfill the supply list. You would be surprised how many people don't look at it. And if they do look at it, just don't get the stuff. And so I teach in a relatively well-off suburb of Kansas City. And we have, I would say there's less than 10% of parents actually look at and buy everything on the supply list. So that's huge. Just get them the stuff that they need. Doesn't have to be anything over that, by the way. And doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Expensive stuff is, don't ever send expensive stuff into a public school setting. It will get broken, stolen, or lost every single time. Number 2, talk to them about the things they are excited about and the things they are nervous about in the new school year. Always helps alleviate some of those things. Take an interest in those things they're excited about, then they stay excited about them. And then if they're nervous about something, try to alleviate the nervousness, but also explain it's okay to be nervous and that it's going to work out. Okay. Those are all important things. Education is changing mightily like a lot of other things. And so your kids are going to adapt along with it, and just also reiterate that other kids are also nervous about those things. And so and the teachers are even nervous. We get nervous as well, seeing new students and all those things, even though we've done it a billion times. The other thing that I think is also very important, and this might be more for elementary school, middle school, especially, maybe definitely early in high school, but maybe if your kid's a junior or a senior, you may not have to do this, but go to the school and walk through their schedule or navigate the building if possible. Many parents maybe don't know this, but all public schools are open to the public during school hours, even in the summer. And so usually you can go in there and just ask and say, hey, we'd like to get their locker set up, or we'd like to work on opening their locker if they've never had a locker before. And we'd like to walk their schedule, and schools should just let you do that. And so do that, get them comfortable with. See, if you can get them comfortable in the building before they have to go, it alleviates some of those issues early on that provide high levels of stress for your child. So go through and do that. Take an interest in what they're doing. The one additional one I will add is for older kids: get to know your child's learning management system. That would be the program that they use on the whatever device that they have at school, whether it's Schoology or Canvas or Google Classroom or whatever they use. Get to know that really well. Have them sign in so you can see it, and really know and understand how that works. And the first week that they're back, you should be in there helping them organize that if they haven't already done that, and then navigating through it yourself so you can understand where to find things and how to help them. So those are my tips for parents as school gets started.
I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier today because a friend of mine was sadly in a car accident, but she is okay. How much more she now has to go through. She just got her new car, like a new transmission in this car, had to pay for that, and then somebody hit her and then took off. So it was a hit and run, and likely we'll never get that person. Her car's just totaled and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, this is a long tangential thing, but it made me think about how much more difficult in some ways being an adult is now than say it was like 100 years ago, because you have all these complex systems that you have to navigate and learn and things like that. The same is true maybe for school children. Like, it is so much more complicated to be a student than it was 50 years ago, when it was just like, show up with a book and a pencil and paper. Like, that was the whole thing, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And so when I went to school
50 years ago,
there was no learning management system, none of this. There was no learning management system. You just showed up, you had a book and you had some paper, and that was the whole
They gave you the book. You didn't even have to bring it.
And they gave you the book, right? Like, and so, it was all so much simpler.
I've been teaching in the school district I'm currently teaching in. This is my 13th year. There has not been a new textbook purchased for my subject in those 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is it. But I bet there's been
not just textbook. There's not really been a new resource for the subject that I teach. There has not been a new resource purchased in 13 years. And I teach in an affluent district, people.
Affluent, yes. What's wild to me is like a lot of this complication is on the back of technological innovations that were supposed to make things easier. Right? Like it's all a very sort of interesting paradox. It's like it was all supposed to make our lives easier, and guess what? It just made them harder.
Well, they sold it as easier for the teachers. It wasn't that either.
No, it wasn't that either. It's not just that, but I'm just talking generally in the world. Like a lot of these things were supposed to be, oh, this technology makes things so much more easier and streamlined. Like, no, it doesn't. Makes it more. Means I got to learn a new technology every time this thing happens, right? Like, it's rough. Anyway, speaking of idiocy, I'm going to try and describe something here that is really not going to work very well over audio. But I got to talk about it because I was driving the other day down this road. There's this road near my house, and you may have, if you are like diehard Royals Weekly weirdos, you may remember that I was excited a while back because they were putting in a sidewalk on this street near my house, and they've now completed that sidewalk, and it's wonderful, and I can walk down this main thoroughfare into this area that I really like to go to, and it's great. But as a result, they took 4 lanes down to 3, actually down to 2 lanes and a turning lane, right, on this thing. That created a problem when on this other thing, because there are now 2 lanes running into 1 lane coming across this street. Does that make sense, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
There are now 2 lanes running into 1 lane. So they have to decide, like, okay, what are we going to do? And for a long time, they didn't do anything. They didn't put up any signage. They didn't change anything. It just looked like there were 2 lanes coming this direction, and then it was just poof, 1 lane. Right, like one of them
now
just
it's
disappeared.
Just one.
Right?
If
like,
you were in the bad lane, sorry.
Right, but you don't know which lane is the bad lane. So you got 2 cars just trying to sort of work it out between them, which one's going to go first. There were so many problems. It was absolute chaos. And you could give that a little bit of leeway by saying like, hey, it's new. There's construction. You know, like they're doing the best they can. They should have a plan for that. But like they didn't clearly. But eventually, after enough chaos, they got a plan for it. Okay. Now, what's weird about these 2 streets is they're uneven. Right. And so for the longest time, you would have to like go through the intersection, but also veer to the right so that you were stayed in your own lane. Right. Which was really inconvenient, caused a lot of problems with this. The way they changed things up, they had an opportunity to make it so that like, okay, now there are actually 2 lanes that are even coming this way. Just make this the straight lane, make this one a turn lane, and then it'll work out. They did the exact opposite of that. They made the one that aligns evenly the turn lane, and then they made this other one like the go straight lane, which means now you have to veer right even further. Nice. Okay, which is crazy to me, right? Just crazy. Okay, and so, but at least there was signage, and so people knew that there were like rules to this game now, right? Like you have to follow these rules. If you're in this lane, you have to turn. Okay, even though it doesn't look like it looks like you should be able to just go straight, you have to turn, right? We're driving, me and Riggs are driving down this road yesterday or the day before. And we notice they have painted over the must turn sign on the ground, and they've taken down the right turn only signs on the thing.
Maybe they finally figured it out. Or now you're back to chaos.
Yeah. I hope what's taking place here is they're like, we're going to switch this up. We're going to make this the turn lane, and the one that should just go straight right into the other lane, we're going to make that the go straight lane. I hope that's what's happening, but right now it's just back to chaos. Back to
your faith that it is very low, isn't it?
Well, it is and it isn't. I'm a big fan of public infrastructure. I would much rather we have like good public transit, smart street design, all this sort of stuff. But man, when the sausage is getting made, it is rough to deal with. It is rough. And how do you make that mistake? It was so obvious to anyone who looked at it that this should be the straight lane and this should be the turn lane. Why? It was insane to me. But it's also like in some ways very typical, right? Of like, they had a 50-50 shot to get it right, and of course they got it wrong, right? Like, it's like, damn it.
The odds were actually very different than that, but okay.
I mean, they could have randomly, if they were like looking at it, they were like, one of these is going to be the turn lane. Which one do we want it to be? Flip a freaking coin, right? Like you have 2 choices, 50-50 shot to get it right. Somehow they got it wrong, right? Like it's wild to me. But anyway, that's what I've been thinking about the last week. And that's all we have for this week. So please tune in again next week. Hopefully we're talking about the resurgent Kansas City Royals. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be the case, but hopefully that is the case. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.